Would I be the jerk for telling my parents they failed me when I needed them most? I'm a 27-year-old woman, and 3 years ago my entire life collapsed in a way I never could have prepared for. My parents have always been transactional. Not cruel, just emotionally distant. To them, life is a checklist: go to college, get a stable job, get married, have kids, succeed. They did everything right themselves: master's degrees, high-paying careers, smart investments. Now they're comfortably retired, living on a fully paid farm with solid pensions and zero financial stress. Meanwhile, 3 years ago, I was in the middle of separating from my soon-to-be ex-husband. The divorce was friendly, calm, and mutual. Then, before we could even finish the paperwork, he died in a motorcycle accident. One moment I was navigating a divorce. The next, I was a widow at 24. We had no life insurance. No savings. Everything, the house, the bills, the debt, was tied together. When I called the law firm after the funeral, they told me the divorce was legally void because it hadn't been finalized. Overnight, I became legally responsible for everything. He had earned about 60% of our income, and suddenly I was alone trying to cover bills that were bigger than my entire paycheck. I was already searching for a better job, but it was too late. I went from financially stable to drowning almost instantly. I'm lucky I didn't lose my house or my car, but for the last 3 years I've barely survived. My credit is destroyed. I've used credit cards just to buy food and gas. Bankruptcy wasn't an option because we owned a rental property together that couldn't even be sold without losses. My parents did help, but only after I begged them to let me use the leftover college fund they had saved for me. At first, they refused because they were paying for my sister's expensive veterinary school. Only after talking to their financial advisor did they suddenly find money to help me. And that was the first time in my entire life I had ever asked them for help. Before all this, I was proud of being independent. I had great credit, managed my finances carefully, and even started investing in property at a young age. I never expected to need anyone. Now, 3 years later, I'm still barely staying afloat. I'm facing a debt lawsuit, and while my parents know how hard things are, all they really offer is advice. Advice that doesn't actually fix a situation this complicated. So, would I be the jerk for telling them they've been terrible parents for watching me struggle for years while they're financially comfortable and choosing not to help more? AITAH for asking a girl to get off a treadmill at the gym? Last night at the gym, I somehow ended up arguing with both a stranger and her mom over a treadmill. The gym I go to doesn't have many treadmills, and I recently started running, so getting one matters if I want to finish my workout properly. My partner and I arrived, and every single treadmill was already taken. No problem. I started with weight machines and figured one would free up soon. About 15 minutes later, I checked again and noticed something weird. One girl was actively running, but the treadmill next to her wasn't being used at all. Another girl was just sitting on it, scrolling on her phone, not running, not walking, just sitting there. I waited a bit, thinking she was about to start. But after at least 15 minutes, nothing changed. So I walked over and politely asked if she was planning to use the treadmill. She said she was there with her friend. I told her that was fine, but she could easily stand next to her friend instead of taking up equipment other people were waiting to use. She shrugged and refused to move. Then suddenly, an older woman walked over and asked what was going on. I explained the situation, and that's when she told me she was the girl's mother, and that I had no right to tell her daughter to move. I said I wasn't trying to start anything, but machines are for people actually working out. Her daughter wasn't using it. The mom insisted her daughter could sit there if she wanted and wasn't doing anything wrong. That's when I said, well, now I see where the entitlement comes from. Yeah, that didn't go over well. She accused me of being disrespectful and criticizing her parenting. I told her maybe she should be open to criticism if this is how her daughter behaves in public. At that point, a staff member came over. After hearing what happened, they asked the girl to either start using the treadmill or leave the area, and she ended up getting off. Later, my girlfriend told me I probably shouldn't have argued with the mom. But honestly, I don't think I did anything wrong. So, AITAH for asking someone to stop blocking a treadmill and then arguing with her mom about it? AITAH for refusing to clean my husband's son's bodily messes? I never expected to have this problem, and honestly, I don't even know how to talk about it without feeling uncomfortable. My husband had a pretty wild youth, and this is one of several kids he never had custody of. His son just turned 18 and moved in with us literally the same weekend. I'm 32, which means I'm honestly closer to his age than his father's. I don't see him as my stepson, and I definitely don't have any maternal instincts toward him. He's a good kid overall, but the situation is awkward from the start. The real issue started almost immediately after he moved in. He keeps leaving dried bodily fluids on the toilet seat and sometimes even on the floor of his bedroom. Yeah, that kind. At first, I thought maybe it was a one-time thing. So instead of saying anything, I placed disinfecting wipes right next to the toilet, very obviously, hoping he'd get the hint. He didn't. It kept happening. And the problem is, I absolutely do not want to have that conversation with him. I feel like that's something his father should handle, not me. But my husband clearly doesn't want to talk about it either. Instead, he expects me to just clean it up and move on like it's normal. When I told him I was uncomfortable, he said, "That's what a mother would do." But I'm not his mother. And honestly, I don't think anyone should have to clean up an adult's bodily messes in shared spaces. My husband is the breadwinner, and I handle most of the housework, so apparently that means this now falls on me too. He refuses to ask his son to do chores because he wants him to focus on college and his social life. Meanwhile, I feel gross every time I walk into the bathroom. I'm not asking for much, just basic respect for shared spaces. I feel like the least my husband could do is tell him to clean up after himself. So now I'm wondering, am I selfish for refusing to deal with this, or is this actually normal in other families? AITAH for refusing to be nice to my brother's girlfriend after what she did. I know this probably makes me sound petty, but after what I found out, I genuinely don't think I can pretend to be nice anymore. I'm 19, and I have 2 brothers, but this situation is about my older brother Nolan, who's 20. For the last 2 or 3 years, he's been in an on and off relationship with his girlfriend, Izzy. Honestly, I never really liked her. For a long time I couldn't even explain why, something just felt off. But toward the end of 2025, things actually started improving. I wouldn't say I liked her, but at least I didn't actively dislike her anymore. Then one night in early December, she texted me out of nowhere saying, "Don't tell anyone, but send me Nolan's location." That immediately felt weird. So instead of just doing it, I called my brother first and warned him before sending anything. About 30 minutes later, she messaged me again asking me to tell her when he got home. At this point I was completely confused. I texted Nolan asking what was going on, and all he replied was, "I got it." Then he disappeared for the rest of the night. Later, my dad actually called me and told me that if Izzy ever asked for Nolan's location again, I should ignore her completely. Apparently, she had messed up badly and was trying to track him down to apologize. When Nolan finally got home, I asked him what happened. That's when I found out she had cheated on him with a newly married man. And worst of all, it wasn't even the first time. I was furious for him. In the past, I've absolutely torn into people who hurt my brother like that, and honestly I offered to do it again. But Nolan told me to be the bigger person. So instead, I blocked her and told her never to message me again. Problem solved, or so I thought. Recently, I found out they're hanging out again. I didn't even know until my younger brother mentioned it to my dad. Suddenly, everyone expected me to just act normal again. My dad told me to be nice. I snapped and said Nolan was basically asking to get cheated on if he kept going back to her, then went straight to my room. Now whenever she's at the house, I avoid her completely. I'm not rude, but I'm definitely not welcoming either. My mom says I need to drop the attitude or I'll damage my relationship with my brother. But I honestly don't think I can fake kindness towards someone who hurt him that badly. So now I'm wondering, am I wrong for refusing to be nice to her, or is my family expecting too much from me? Ita?